Hey everyone, Mike Guerra. Thanks for joining me again. Today we're going to talk about 3 common mistakes most people make when buying a country property. Now, I've lived in the country now. I moved up here in 2010, so we're going 15 years, and I've lived about 3 country properties as well as a couple city properties in that time. We've moved a lot, as I've mentioned before. So let's get into it. These are the 3 common mistakes most people make when buying a country property. Number 1 is they're not familiar with wells and septics. In a country property, most likely you're not on city services, so your sewers are not connected, your water is not connected. So you have a well, a drilled well or a bored well, or some type of well for your water source, and you have a septic for your sewers. Septic has a holding tanks and then a weeping bed, and water kind of runs off on the weeper, and the waste stays trapped in the tanks, and you get that pumped out. So a lot of people, this is new to them. They don't know about this, so it takes a little bit getting used to. Well water is different than town water. So most of the time, sometimes it's hard water, or you have to add a softener to soften it up. You need salt, all that stuff, just stuff you're not used to when you're on city water. So just something to keep in mind. Do some homework on wells and septics. A septic, you have a filter in there, you have to clean it in spring and fall. You get the tank pumped out. Probably, if you're a family of 5, they say every 4 to 5 years. Costs around, I don't know what it is now, $450 to pump it. Not huge, but there is some work. It's not just flushing the toilet and it goes through the sewers and off to the town waste treatment plant. So that's something to consider. Number 2 is the extra property maintenance. So this is a big one. Now, my last property was 2.5 acres, and we just found it to be a lot of work. Whole weekend to cut grass and trim trees and do all that stuff. You have a big driveway usually when you're in the country, obviously larger than when you're in a subdivision home. So you have more snow to plow, more trees to trim, more hedges to cut, and more grass to cut. So it's just a lot of work. The bigger the property always, the more acres, the more work. And finally, number 3 is they don't account for the abundance of wildlife. Again, when you're in the country, as opposed to being in a subdivision home in the city where you might see the odd rabbit or raccoon, in the country, because you're close to forest most of the time, there's going to be a lot of wildlife. So people aren't used to a million rabbits everywhere, coyotes, deer, skunks, raccoons, and there's even been, in my area here, Simcoe County, there's been bear sightings, and there's also been talk of cougars. I'm not talking about the old ladies walking around. This is actually the large cat, man-eating cougars. So I remember my old neighbor said that one of his horses about 10 years ago was mauled by a cougar. So again, I never seen one personally, but there's been talk of some sightings in the area. They usually don't come this far south, but they have been. So just something to consider. If you're not a big fan of bears or cougars, you might see those if you move to a country home. I hope that helped with you if you're making a decision to possibly purchase a country home. Again, I have a lot of experience, so reach out anytime and ask me any questions. I'd be happy to help. All my information is in the description. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks so much.